right now, China is in a state of flux, and it could go in different directions, but there is undeniably much greater religious freedom there, and there's undeniably a revival going on there. And what I observe, having the concerns about faithfulness to orthodoxy, faithfulness to the essentials of the gospel, and genuine Christian discipleship, and not just having something that calls itself Christianity and they raise their hands in worship and they get emotional when they pray, but then they begin to preach prosperity as a sign of God's favor and as a guarantee of the gospel, or they begin to incorporate shamanistic, pagan practices into their Christianity, which you often find in areas in which Christianity is growing in the third world. But when we were in China, what I saw was a much more faithful expression of Christianity, and I began to see that this could be the best hope for the church in the future. As the lights are going out in the West, they are starting to brighten up in the East, and you have some very dedicated disciples of Christ, dedicated, I might add, within the local church movement to orthodox theology. They're not just into experiencing Christ, and they're certainly not into just name it and claim it kind of theology at all. They understand what sacrifice is, they understand what faithfulness is, and they are aggressively bringing the gospel as much as they can within that repressive regime to the lost. And you and I saw an example of that when we attended the meeting of the church in Nanjing. And it was a 2-story building that was full on both floors for the morning worship service. And then afterwards, we broke up upstairs into a multitude of small group college-age meetings. And these young people were so excited about Jesus Christ. We went around. I was in a group of maybe 15, 16. There were probably 7 or 8 groups like that throughout the second floor. And you were in another one. And in my group, they went around the group and had everybody tell how long they'd been a Christian. I don't believe that one of them had been a Christian for longer than 6 years. And some of them had not yet become Christians, but were drawn there by the spiritual life that they were seeing in these people. And so at the end of the day's worship service, which started at 8:30 a.m. and ended at 2:30 p.m., they had a baptismal service, and there were 45 young people. I counted them, lined up to be baptized. And that wasn't like, well, we're having our annual baptism. That was like this week's baptism. And so do we really want to be undermining or repressing something where the Spirit of God is moving this way, especially when the evidence is now finally surfaced after decades that these people are not denying essential doctrines of the Christian faith?